Hello and welcome. My name is Alicia, and I'll be leading the webinar today. Today we're going to learn how to navigate to the software, to log in, navigate the dashboard. We'll go over our communication options in CINcompass, such as tasks, events, and activities, and the content templates associated with those. We're also going to create a matter and go through how you'll input information to fill out the forms, and then finally how to prepare a filing. For those of you who might not know, CINcompass is completely cloud-based, meaning anywhere you have internet access, you can work on your bankruptcies at your local coffee shop, the park, in bed. You can also create as many users as you need for other staff members to access wherever they are. Another feature we provide is the free integration of court notices. So we supply an email address for you to provide to the court, and then we receive and house all of your court notices, which will be assigned by case number to the respective matters. In CINcompass, you have the ability to order a credit report and import it directly into the software. You'll also be able to order credit counseling and debtor education courses, tax transcripts, and other things that you would need to complete your bankruptcy. Beyond bankruptcy is the ability to add client information for areas of law besides bankruptcies. So that allows you to keep all of your client information in one place for ease and convenience. With CINcompass, you can do it through the browser. You would use Internet Explorer and then just go to CINcompass.com to log in, or we have an out-of-browser app for desktop. So you can also download that. To download it, if you haven't already, all you would need to do is navigate to this screen, and then if you right-click, you have the option to install CINcompass onto the computer. But for this tutorial, we're going to use the website. So we're on CINcompass.com. We're going to go ahead and log in. Any user will have their own login information with their own picture that comes up. We'll just agree to this. Okay. And what we're seeing here is the dashboard. So this is specific to the user that's logged in. So I can change this around. These are considered, these are called widgets. So we have the Create a Client widget, we have the Did You Know, and the Matter Status widgets. There are more widgets that you can choose from, and you can add different things, whatever it is that you want to see here. You could add them all, and you can also close out any ones that you aren't using. So we could close whatever it is that we're not using. And again, this is specific to the user that's logged in, so it's only going to be for that particular person. Other people can create it however they'd like. So we'll go across the top here to kind of explain some things. We have contacts, which would be where you can add in your standard contacts. That would be any like of your common creditors or anything like that. You can view them from here as well. And then we have tasks. I'm going to kind of go over tasks and activities together because they're very similar. The difference would be that tasks are set up for a future date and time, whereas activities are done at that moment. So if you chose to send an email through activities, they would be going out once you complete it. Tasks, you have the ability to send out emails, faxes, letters, obviously letters, faxes, and to-dos. Those are things that are manually done by a user, but emails can be automated, text messages can be automated, and calls can be automated. And then we have matters. This is where we can create a matter or we can view matters through here. We have the calendar. This is going to be a general overview of your calendar events. So it's not specific, as none of these things across the top here, they're not specific to any particular matter. Activities we went over, and then accounting. This is going to give you just like a general idea of the accounting portion of CINcompass, and time tracking as well. And then we have due diligence. If you have your CIN legal account hooked up to your CINcompass, then you would be able to place orders through CINcompass to order credit reports or credit counseling courses or debtor education courses. Any of those things can be ordered through here. You also have the option when you're doing it from the top here to choose course handouts. And that is something that for the ease of, the attorney, you can hand a piece of paper out basically that gives them instructions for how to place an order through CINlegal without you having to place the order as the attorney. And then it's still associated with you. So if they, when they create their order and they order their credit counseling course, once they've finished it and they are issued that certificate, that would be associated with you. You would get notice of that and you would receive that certificate. So the course handout can be nice. Then we have the global search. You're able to search by name. It's going to search the entire system. You can also search by case number. It just depends on how you would like. And then we have user. This is obviously specific to the user that's logged in. You can change your dashboard through here, different settings. You can also log out through here, change your password, that kind of stuff. Settings are your general settings. So this would be for across the board, like for the entire firm. So anything that's changed in here is not user specific. One thing that I want to specifically draw your attention to would be firm settings. So when you go into firm settings, under settings, you have the ability to check out your billing. So you have your regular billing, which is your CINcompass billing, and then you have your due diligence billing, which is your CINlegal billing. So if we had, doesn't look like I have this set up with an account, but when you create an order or anything like that, and you have invoices, then you would see those in here. You can make a one-time payment. You can put a card on file to have automatic payments. Those things can be done through the software now, where you don't have to have a password like you would if you went to the website. And then we have help. This is where you can go to connect us or to view help articles. This can be helpful when you're looking for a specific answer. You're able to search in here. So if we were going to search something about importing, we would get different results here in regard to whatever we're searching. You can also scroll down on this page, and this is where you'll find our phone number with our hours, as well as the remote support tool. We would be able to click on that to see the list of representatives that are available. So what we're going to do now is create a matter. So I could do that through the Create a New Client widget by choosing either Bankruptcy or Custom, or I can do it from the top here under Matters and choose Bankruptcy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. At this point, what we want to do is put in whoever our primary applicant is going to be. So we want to fill anything in that's red because those have to be filled in for this to complete. But obviously, the most information that you can add, the better. So to put this person in, George Bush. Some of these things are just for your convenience to be able to put in, like the gender. That's obviously not on any of the forms or anything. You would choose who it belongs to, so which location you have. And then for this can be pretty handy. Let me put in, I'll put in our address and show you how this searches with the United States Postal Service to match it to an address, an accurate address. So this is our physical address. I often forget the zip code. And the good thing about that is if I tap off of it, it's going to search for the address through the United States Postal Service, and it can find that for me. Now, if it was finding, excuse me, something that I knew was not correct or not at least what maybe the clients are telling us their address is or something to that effect, we have the ability to click on home here and actually edit this however we'd like and then say do not correct. We can also add an international address here as well. I get asked often about if somebody has like a mailing address, where that would go. Once we create the matter, we'll have that option to put that in. So for here, what we're putting in is the physical address. Make sure we put in the social security number, again, location, and then we can keep track of our lead source. So this kind of gives us a better indication of what is most successful bringing clients in. So we can say maybe this was from our holiday mailer. And then if we needed to put something more specific in here, we could put that. One thing that's important is if you are going to be using the tasks or events options, you would want to make sure that you put in information here. That way, when those things need to go out, it's already filled in. Obviously, if you're going to be sending emails to the client, then you would need to have their email address in here. We could put in their birth date if we wanted to. We want to make sure we specify which thing we would like for each one of these things. And then once we're finished with this page, here along the left, we can go down to the joint applicant. So if we have a joint applicant, we can put them in here. So we'll say Barbara. And we can put in, we have to fill out anything that's in red. Again, it's the same way. If we didn't have a joint applicant, we wouldn't have to put anything here. Put Cincinnati. So I'm going to show you on this one. Obviously, that's not an address. It's going to come up and give us this warning saying it's not valid. If we know that this is correct, we can bypass this and make it accept it. So I can go in here, click on Do Not Correct, and save it. And we'll see the little hand. That's just letting us know that we have put up for it to stop trying to correct it. I'll put in her social. Again, lead source. Do that. All right. Then, once we're finished with that, we move on down to dependents. This is where we're going to add any children that they have. I don't think that's her name, but say Barbara Jr. Let's say she's 12. Relationship is daughter. Claimed by both. Then we go down to matter. This is where we can choose the chapter type as well as the debtor type. These things can be changed later if we don't know for a fact what it's going to be. But this one, of course, would be joint. We put in both. And then you can also keep track of the reason for seeking legal representation. So maybe their issue is medical bills. Then we have intake meeting. So we can set an intake meeting. This is something that we can set up across the board for all of the clients that we're starting new, something that's going to come up with tasks already associated with it. So we could choose the location, and then based on that information, it's going to have certain related tasks that we have. So this one has these things attached to it. We could edit this if we wanted to for this particular client. If it was somebody who didn't have email, we could change it so we weren't sending out any emails because they aren't going to get those anyways, or add something to it if they have a preferred level of contact or whatever. We would be able to edit this however we'd like and set up an intake meeting. I'm not going to do that today though. Then we have our notes section. This is where we can type in anything that we might need to know about this client, anything that maybe we still need from them. So maybe if we need our pay stubs, we need George's pay stubs, so we can put that note in there. And then we have intake details. This allows us to type in the answers to these questions. We can also edit these questions. So if these questions don't pertain to the kind of things that that you ask your client, then you can always remove these. And you can put in who's your best friend, and maybe the answer to that is, you know, anybody. You could put in anything that you wanted to and edit this however you'd like. And then you just complete it down in the bottom right. And now we have the matter created. So I'm going to kind of go over generally on the left side our categories, and then we'll dive into each one specifically. So manage matter is kind of where you're going to go to manage the client. So you can view your notes in here and things like that. It's things that you're going to be doing to keep track of the client and keep up with everything. Then you have bankruptcy information. This is where you're going to go to fill out the forms. So this is the information that you're putting in to actually go onto the forms. And then manage forms is where you would go in to actually view the forms, to go into file, that type of thing. And then you have post-filing, which is your personal financial management. So it has your debtor education certificate. So I'm going to go into manage matter here to get a little more specific. What we're looking at here is the summary. So this is going to show us our represented parties, which is our two clients. If we needed to change any of that information here, we could do that. We would just click on it and edit it. We can also change the status here. So maybe we want to put these people in as new. We can change that. That's more so for your filing so that you can keep track of things and, you know, for you to know what stage somebody is. You can keep track of other different dates down here if you wanted to as well. And then we have tasks. This is where we can add a task for this particular client. So I'm going to go through and show you how to add an email task. So maybe we want to add, this one is going to be like a new client. So let's say, as far as instructions are concerned, if we were assigning this to a particular user, like how we have it right now that it's assigned to me, if we were using this for a specific user, we might have instructions for that user on what to do. If we are attaching it to the system and going to have the system send it out for us, we don't really need instructions because the system knows what to do. So then we can choose a due date. Anything that if you want it to go out immediately, anything to go out immediately, you can just date it back. So if you had multiple, if you were creating an event or something that had multiple tasks related to it, then you can date them back and they'll go out immediately once that event is scheduled. So in this case, if we set it for 8 a.m. today, it's going to go out immediately. If we were assigning this to a particular user, then we would maybe set a reminder for that user to remind them to do it. Again, it's being assigned to the system, so it doesn't really need a reminder. Then over here on the left, we have the actual content of the email that we're sending. So we could type something up if we wanted to, or we can use a template. So we could choose, I don't know, we'll set it as this. So now we have this, we can preview it. It can fill in different things as far as, you know, what the firm name is and things like that. Let me close this. And it's based on these keywords here. So client full name by first, it's going to put in George Bush. You know, it has all these different things that it's filling out, and it can do that. So then we can save it and close it. Yep. All right, so it's considered past due because we set it for 8 a.m. today. And it's showing here as, you know, a past due task. So then we have our notes. This is what we set when we created it. We can also add new notes. We can edit this note, delete it. We can print the notes. Then we have events. So events and tasks can get a little confusing. If you think of it, an event goes onto a calendar. It goes onto the calendar. So it's an event that's actually happening. It could be your 341 meeting. It could be client intake meeting that you're having, the event can have tasks associated with it. So if we create an event, we're going to use an event template. So we'll do the 341 meeting. So let's say we know when the 341 meeting is. When we put it on the calendar and we attach it to this event template, then it's going to already have certain settings that are saved on it. So we have it that it's 15 minutes. We can change the date here if we wanted to, the date and time. Maybe we want it to be for the 21st at 2, close. And then we can choose what calendar we put it on. So we can put it on our personal calendar. We can put it on the location calendar. Location. And then we have 2 reminders and 1 task added to this. So we're going to look at, we can add an attendee if there's another user that we want to add that needs to be privy to this or go to it. We could do that. If I wanted to add like the attorney, I could do that. And then we have the tasks. So these are the ones that we have associated with the 341 template. And so we have an email that's sent to be, it's to be sent out 3 days before, and it's assigned to CINcompass, so it's going to go out automatically. We have a text message as well that's going to go out automatically because it's assigned to CINcompass. And we have that going out 30 minutes before the meeting. And then we have a letter that's going to be sent out by the paralegal 1 week after the meeting. So that would be something that the paralegal will get a notification that she needs to do. These are editable. You can edit even for the specific client. So maybe you don't want to edit the actual template, but you just want to add something in addition for this or remove something. You can do that with these plus and minus signs up here. The template itself is through the settings. So if you go into settings and you go to event template, just to kind of give you an idea of where these are coming from, this is the one that we chose, the 341 meeting. So if I click on this, I can see that we have it set up with these 3 tasks. And this is where we could edit this event template, which could then be used for any of our clients, whatever we have going on. And there are different ones that we can choose in here. We can create our own. You can edit any of these ones that are in here. And then as far as the content of, for example, the email. So for this one, we have an email reminder for court. If we go into settings and go to content templates, we have these different ones to choose from. So these are assigned to the actual task itself to go out. So any of these can be edited as well. This is just the content of what is actually going to be attached to that task. So you have your emails, you have your text messages, your faxes, your letters, and your phone, like auto call content. So these are the things that are actually going to be a part of that message. So on here, we're going to create this event with those tasks. We have everything, everything is good. We're not missing anything. It would tell us if we didn't have like a phone number in here and we're trying to send out a text, it would say you don't have a phone number, so you can't do this basically. So we'll go ahead and save these tasks. 1, 2, 3, all right. And we're going to save that and close. So now we see that we have an event set up for Thursday, the 21st. Activities inside of the matter is going to keep you updated on what's going on with the matter. So we can see when we created it, we can see that we changed the status, we can see that we've created certain events. If we go to communications, we can see that an email was sent. We would see other things that were scheduled as well. So that can be pretty handy. Then we have documents. This is where we can add documents that might pertain to the client. So if there's something in particular that you want to house in here, you can. So if we had some handwritten notes maybe that were taken when George called in and we had him on the phone, then we could add those. We could scan them in and add them in here. We can drag and drop it here, or we can browse. And this would allow us to add something in from the computer. So let me go into my blank document. And we'll add that. Perfect. So then we can see here that we've added a document. So these can be documents that you want to file if you have something that you need to add in to be able to file for the, with the court, or it can be just a place where you keep your documents pertaining to this particular client. And we have accounting. This is going to be specific to this particular user. So you have your summary, expenses. If we go into receivables, we can add our receivables. So let's say we're doing a flat rate fee of $2,000 for this client. We can put this in here as a flat fee, okay. And then we'll see here along the bottom, it creates a bar. It lets us know the total that's owed for this particular client. So let's say George comes in, he makes a payment. Let's add one for, he makes a payment of $100. So we're able to put in, he paid cash. It's going to go into our trust. Look for our flat rate fee. Click OK. And now we see that he made a $100 payment and he now owes $1,900. So you have that option. Then we also have time tracking. So for those attorneys that maybe aren't doing a flat rate fee, you can actually keep track of your time through here. So we could add an entry and choose specific times that we worked. Maybe we worked 11 to 4 for 5 hours. We were doing, background research. We could put in a description if we wanted to. If we have an hourly rate associated with a particular user, then that would show up here. If we don't, we can always override this and put in what we want. So maybe it's $200 an hour. And then we can add, and that entry is going to show up there. And then we have court notices. So if you have your court notices set up to come into CINcompass, so basically the way that that works is we provide an email address that would go directly into your CINcompass account. And once you give that over to the court, they add it in usually as the secondary email address. And then all of your court notices come in here and we save your free look. So if we had already filed George and we had maybe the 341 notice or any court notices coming in, as long as we have his case number in here, then it's going to pull it in. When you file with the automation, it's going to automatically pull that case number in, so you should receive all of your court notices that way. If you have maybe an old client that you put in and maybe you just needed to do like a couple of forms for that particular case, you could put in the case number that already exists, and any court notices that come in at that point would be able to be added to that particular debtor. Then we have due diligence. This is where we would go to create an order if we are going to order a credit report or any courses or tax transcripts or anything like that. So this would be where your CIN legal account would be handy. And then you would just go to create a new order. And it's going to automatically pull the information from the petition. So the information that you input for each client would show up here. We can choose whether we're ordering just an individual or a joint. And then when we go forward, we would be able to choose in the order details. If we had products, we would be able to choose those products here. So if we were ordering a credit report, we would be able to choose that and then choose which credit report. So basic, preferred, or premium. And then we would go forward from there, authenticate the client. And then once we've done that, we have the ability to import it, as well as view the order. It would show up here if we had an existing order. If you're not ready to place an order, but you just need to authenticate the client because maybe they're already in there and you're going to pull the order later, you could authenticate the client by itself right here. And then we'll go into bankruptcy information. So this again is where you're going to fill out your forms for court. So form 122, this is going to be your means test. So we would put in income here. We can add just to the 122. So if you have a client that is ending their job and will be starting a new one, obviously we don't want that to go into Schedule I because they aren't going to have that income in the future, but they do have it here in the last 6 months. So if we wanted to add to 122 only, we could click on the 122 plus. That would only add it into 122, or we can click the plus sign, which will add it into both 122 and Schedule I. That's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to put in CIN. And again, that's going to search. If it didn't, we could click on address and we would be able to edit whatever we wanted to here. And this we can put in actual checks. So we could put in a check date as well as, all of the information here. And then add another check and just put in all the checks that they've gotten for the last 6 months. Or we can do what I'm going to do, which is like a monthly amount. So maybe I'll come up with like a monthly total from all their checks and say that this person makes in 1 month $6,000. We'll say different things are taken out. That's too much. All right. And when we do a monthly amount like this, then we would want to say that we're multiplying this because we're looking for 6 months for the means test. We want to multiply this by 6. So I'm going to say okay. So I have the salary for a month multiplied by 6 to give us the total of 6 months. And for Schedule I, we want to make sure that we click on this integration mode and say, first of all, if we want it to kind of match what we have in the means test, you want to put average check because it calculates differently for each thing. So then we can also choose how they get paid. So in this case, monthly is correct because I'm putting in a monthly amount, multiplying it by 6. That's 6 months of income. But if they were paid weekly, you would want to put in, that they were paid weekly, and you would want to have 26 paychecks in there. If it was bi-weekly, then you would want to have 13 paychecks, semi-monthly, 12, and so on, because it multiplies based on those things. So for this average check, we're going to put monthly, save. So we now see our income in here, and we can see that we are above the median family income. I can raise this up, and it will change my median family income, still above it though. So this is kind of a good indication here on the right, what your median family income would be for these people, and then what they actually are making. So whether or not you would maybe want to file a 7 or a 13. Then we have our IRS standards. So this is where we could add in any further expenses that they might have. So we wanted to add some additional taxes. If we click on the ellipses here, then we can click on the plus sign and add different things in. Maybe this is for property, $1,500. So then we would see that here. One thing that you want to make sure that you do is save periodically, because this is internet-based. If you lose your internet connection, you could lose the data if you're not saving it. Then we have our voluntary petition. This is, of course, going to fill out the voluntary petition form. So this is going to be where you would have the debtor's information, their name, address, social. You have debtor 1, you have debtor 2. You have any prior or pending bankruptcies that they may have. So you can manually add these things in with the plus sign or the minus sign, or if you were ordering a credit report through CINlegal, you could import here the prior or pending bankruptcies that it may have pulled. On the case info tab, this is where you would change the nature of debts if you wanted to business or other, and you can also change the chapter type or the debtor type if it turns into an individual filing or something to that effect. You can also change your exemption law through here. Then we have credit counseling. So this is where if you order through CIN Legal, you would have your certificate automatically uploaded once it is completed, or you can manually upload it. So if you just click on this little circle here with the arrow in it, you can add a manual certificate. It allows you to search your computer. So you can add that in here. We'll say the provider is, let's just say credit counseling, if I could spell. And come up with a number, save. So then we have it attached, the course is completed, we're going to go with that. Then we have our fee disclosure, so this is just, you know, where you would put in what you're accepting and how much they've paid. That one's pretty straightforward. Then we have our asset schedules. This is going to be where we add in the different assets that George has. So we can add, for example, maybe a car. I didn't do that right. Well, let's see. Say November 4th, 2014. Okay. And we can also get an appraisal if we wanted to through here by filling out this information. Or we can just choose an amount. So maybe it's worth $15,000. And then if we wanted to exempt it, we could, motor vehicle. If we choose for an exemption, like for example, this car is worth $15,000, we're saying that that's the estimated net equity value. If we try to use 100% of the fair market value, it's going to try to exempt $15,000 when only $7,550 is available. So in this case, you would not want to use 100% of the fair market value because that's not actually how much we want to claim. We want to claim the $7,550. And then we can also attach it to a lien. So we could add and assign it. If we had other liens in there, we would see those. And then we can save. There we go. So if there's something missing, it will let you know. You can't save it. All right, there we go. So now we see the vehicle. We see how much it's worth, how much we're exempting, the date they acquired it. We can add in, as many things as we want to. Let's change this and put in 150. All right, we're good with that. Exemption, again, this is, because this is less, the fair market value is $150,000. So because we have $273,000 available for this one, we can use 100% of the fair market value because it's going to use $150,000, which is available. Of course, we want to save at the bottom as well. And we'll move on to our liabilities. So we can manually add liabilities with the plus sign, we can delete them with the minus sign, or if we've ordered a credit report through CIN Legal, then we would be able to import up here with this little arrow going down into a basket. That would give us import options. If we had a credit report, we would be able to see it through here, and we would be able to add it to particular schedules, or you can have it in your settings so that it will auto schedule them for you. And then you would just click import, can save you a little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and put an amount on this, which we have attached to the vehicle. So I can double click on that to open it, or I could click the pencil in the top right. I'm going to put a claim amount of $5,000 because the car's only worth $15,000. We could go to Schedule D. This is where we can see that it's already attached to the car because we did that in the previous asset schedules. Chapter 7, this is where we can set the intent. So we're going to reaffirm. And then we want to make sure for the means test that we have it attached to the correct label, which is that it's an automobile. And then if we had any co-debtors or assignees, we could add those through here. Save that. Then we have executory contracts. This is where you're going to be adding in any leases that the client may have. So if they are renting a car or a home, then you could put that in here. Then we have our income and expenditure. So because we put in, first of all, this dependent, we can see them from when we created the matter. And then we also have our paycheck in here, our employment, from when we added it into Form 122. So we can see that it's already, it matches 6,000. That's what we put in because we put the average. And we can come in here to income. We could add more if we wanted to. And if you see here, it's kind of got debtor 2 grayed out. That's because we want to include debtor 2's income. Debtor 2 is not employed. Debtor 1 is employed. So we could add things in here if we wanted to. Government assistance. Maybe they get Social Security and it's $150 and we want to put it in here. We could do that. There's an actual place for Social Security if you wanted to put that. Maybe they get additional or something. And then you also have your expenses tab. So this is where you're going to put in the different expenses the client would have. And this is going to change, obviously, what's available, what excess they have, which is also, of course, going to control how much they have, available to pay back. Are they going to be filing a 13? Any of these boxes with the ellipses, you could click on and click the plus sign to add. But as you can see at the bottom, we can see the monthly income. So that's post, the actual things that are taken out of the check. And then the monthly expenses that we've added, and then it tells us what's left in the excess. So then we have the statement of affairs. Pretty straightforward as well. If you want to answer the question, you can double click on it, say that they're married. Okay. Now we see that we have a response here. If we wanted to delete that response, we can just highlight it and click the minus sign. And then we'll see that we have no response. If there's something that you don't want a response for, or you want it to automatically say no, then if you just bypass that, if you just skip it, it'll automatically say no or put nothing. We have the payment advices. This is where you can add, you can attach their pay stubs. So put that in there. We can see that we have an attachment. We could view it here. We could delete it here. And then if we wanted to add a payment advice cover sheet, if we click on the plus sign, we can type something up if we wanted to, which would then attach those pay stubs. This is kind of in the format of like a Word document, or you can choose here from a template, which is going to show your local form. So you would be able to choose that local form here. It's going to put it in. Anything that's in these little brackets, these little carets here, are going to be auto-filled by the system. And anything else you should be able to add to it if you wanted to. If you wanted to add some wording, you could. just make sure that if you are editing anything here in the brackets, that if you're going to delete something, take out the whole bracket, because if you leave it halfway, that can throw off the document completely. So we'll save that. Save at the bottom. So then, because we're finished with inputting all of our bankruptcy information for the forms, we can go into the forms. And if we go to Diagnostics, we're going to see any kind of violations that we might have. So the red ones, those are things that have to be fixed before CINcompass would allow you to file. So right here we see that we have no filing attorney. Obviously you can't file if we don't have an attorney assigned to it. So we can go back up to Bankruptcy Information, to the Voluntary Petition, and see here we have attorney, and we can add in our attorney. We want to save it. We'll go back down to Manage Forms and to Diagnostics, and then that particular error is gone. So any of these are just warnings. This is things that CINcompass thinks that maybe you would want to look at and make sure that they're accurate. You might see these if you have duplicate addresses for creditors or something to that effect. You'll see those. But after you've reviewed them, if you are okay with these, then you can certainly file with them. So then you would go to Forms. This is where you can view your forms. If you want to attach anything, you can do it with this paperclip. You can prepend, replace, or append. So if you wanted to add an exhibit, you could. So you have your regular case forms, which is going to be your federal forms. These are the ones that are just standard filings. And then you have supplemental. Once you come in here, you just click the plus sign, and you can browse through documents that you maybe would want to add, and then you can add them in. So if we wanted to add in the certificate of financial management course, we could add that. And that's that form 423. And then we have custom, same thing. If you push the plus sign, you're going to get an option of forms that you can add here. You're going to see a lot of your local forms under custom. So you'll have a lot more form options in here. And maybe we wanted to add that one. So we have the ability in custom to manually edit this. So I can click the pencil. It's going to open it up in what's similar to like a Word document. And we would be able to make any manual changes that we wanted to. We can also include this in the petition PDF. So it would be part of the actual PDF of the petition, or we can just have it filed as its own separate PDF. And then we have documents. This is the ones that we've added in so far for this particular client. So we added one of them in as the credit counseling certificate. So that shows up here, the payment advices, and then we added this one just into the documents. So any of these, if we wanted to file them, we could. For example, I don't know, let's say this was a motion that we drafted. We could file this, and it'll use the automation, but the automation obviously doesn't know what it is. So this is one that you would have to go back and manually file after the automation is complete. So let's say we want to maybe view a document. Maybe you want to show the client. You can highlight everything, and if you click the button down here for preview, which is the one with the magnifying glass over the piece of paper, that will allow you to preview the documents. It'll open them up as a PDF. You could email them or print them, save them, however you want to do it from there. You also have the ability to put a watermark on it. So if you're going to send these out to the client, maybe you don't want them to have the ability to be able to go to the courthouse and file them themselves, you could put in draft. You can also add, I think, other things through the settings. You'd be able to add other wording if you wanted to, but you could put draft on there, and that way when it generates, there's like a watermark of draft across the middle of the page. You also have the ability, if you're filing amended, to click on that. If you click on the word amended, it's going to open this up and allow you to say that you want to include all items or that you want to include only the checked items. So if you had added, if you're amending maybe the liabilities and you've added a couple of liabilities, maybe you only want to show the liabilities that you added instead of all of them. You have that choice here. It should automatically, have it redacted, and then the e-sign with the date, and that should automatically put today's date for it. So if we were ready to file, we would highlight what we wanted to file, make sure that we highlight anything on these additional tabs, and we would hit prepare filing down here, this purple button. This is going to pop up and show us our diagnostics again, so it's going to let us know that we have these different things going on. If we're okay with those, then we would go forward and hit prepare filing again. You're going to always see this download ECF tool. If you've downloaded it once on that computer, then you won't have to worry about that again, but it's there in case. So then we would hit prepare filing, and then it's going to start preparing these documents, and it will open them up for us as a court website, which looks like this. So it's going to take us in here. We'll see our documents over here on the left. We could double click on any of these and open them up and view them if we wanted to, just to make sure that it is what we want to file. And then we have the ability in here as well to save the username and password for your CINECF site. So if you have more than one attorney, you can have more than one saved in here. And that's really what the attorney name is for, so that you can tell the difference. But you would want to save this in here if you're going to use the automation. That way that if you click upload at the bottom, then you have, it's going to automatically log you in and then go forward and start filing. So back on CINcompass, if we go into filings, this is going to show, this is still currently generating. This will show us if we filed something here. So it's showing that I generated it, shows me the day and time that I generated it. If we had gone through and filed with the automation, then it would show here the status as filed. It would tell who filed it, which again would be me, whoever's logged in, and then filed on, it'll give us the date and time. We can also click on this. Okay, I can't get it, still generating, but if it was filed, I could click on this and see the documents. It'll show you the actual physical documents that were filed. Oh, there we go. So we can see here, these are the different things that we generated, and I could view, the document itself if I wanted to. And then for post-filing, we've filed the case, and the client has now taken the personal financial management course, the debtor education course. We can go in here, and if they took it through CIN Legal, then it would be automatically uploaded. Otherwise, we can add manual certificate. So we could say debtor education and put in our certificate number and attach a certificate. All right, and let's save. And then we could go back into our forms. We did have in the supplementals our certificate. So for the 423, we can then go through and file this. So I know that was quite a bit of information for you to kind of take in there. Thank you for attending. We're open from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. If you have any questions, you can always give us a call. Anybody here would be able to assist you with that. And again, thank you for attending. You have a great day.